We're finally ready to create our video. Finally, we've done all the research. We come up with titles that our audience really wants to hear. We're really ready to start getting going. But what's the format that's really going to increase engagement, increase our watch time, or and lead to a lot of the metrics that YouTube is looking for? And the way to really think about it is kind of very similar to a TV show. So you're creating video content. Think about it in the same way that you'd watch a TV show, because it works there. It's really going to work on YouTube as well. So that first few minutes is really getting somebody hooked in. Like, what are those first, what's kind of that, how can you kind of jump into a video and kind of preview it a little bit? Like, what is your whole entire video going to cover? What's that hook that you can go out to them and say, this is what my video is all about. Why don't you stay tuned for this? Kind of playing into some of the pain points they might have, talking and kind of teasing your solution a little bit, creating some curiosity so that they lead a little bit longer and stay on. So, whatever your topic is, it's important to kind of think about, like, how can I catch my audience's attention and get them listening more and kind of get them straight from the go? Like, in that first 30 seconds, how can I get them, really, into your story or into your video enough that they almost have to continue watching. And it's really important. So if you don't get those first 30 seconds or first minute right, and you've already lost them, then that's just your watch time is going to suffer because of that. So really focus on those first 30 seconds, a minute, to really preview what your video is all about, to throw in some curiosity, to really catch their attention about why your solution is different, who you are, and why you have some credibility around that. And then once you've done that, once you've captured their attention, that's where you can kind of introduce yourself a little bit more. Talk about what your channel is all about. Talk about when your videos typically come out a little bit, very similar to a TV show, where after that first clip that kind of catches people's attention, that's where they kind of introduce the actors and actresses as part of that TV show. Go through that standard music they go through all the time. It really is the same thing for your YouTube channel. This is your chance to kind of introduce yourself, talk about what your channel is all about, but also kind of tell them what exactly you want them to do. So that's kind of subscribe, hit that notification bell, and you really should do that again and again and again in your videos. So do it at the beginning of the episode, do it at the end, where you're really telling your audience what you want them to do, but also, again, developing some curiosity about what your channel is all about and why they should continue watching further episodes, and again, subscribe to get a little bit more information. And again, do that at the end as you see it as well. And then once you've done that, the best part is kind of getting into some type of story. So most people will go into, especially when they're trying to provide some education to their audience, they'll just get into a 3 or 5 step process about how you could specifically solve their solution. But that's not really memorable for your audience. It's not really going to engage them, get them commenting and liking and sharing your video as much, because a lot of those kind of checklists and lists that you give out are kind of hard to follow. But a great way to do it is to insert some type of story right in the beginning. So really introduce your idea, what your video is all about, by introducing a story and kind of telling a story. So it can be a personal story, it can be a past success story that you've had with a client. It could also be based upon the research that you did. So if you went into the forums, really got into your audience's head a little bit, maybe you talked to one of the members of your audience and got a great story about that. That's a great opportunity to put that into your episode, bring your topic to life a little bit more, talk more about what the pain point they might have, and kind of introduce your solution in a way that's very engaging and, again, a little bit more shareable. So you're kind of using that story to kind of grab them, use that as a magnet, and really catch their attention. And again, it makes it a little bit more memorable. It kind of brings it up so they can kind of share that a little bit more and really talking about that story. And then you can kind of provide your list of solutions around a specific problem, but using that story as kind of the lead in. Again, going back to very much like a TV show and starting out, like, what is that story that they're kind of bringing out as well. So the story structure that I tend to use is always really starting with that main obstacle. So get us right into the story of who the character is, whoever it is, like, what is that obstacle that they're facing right now, and what's that challenge, what's that situation that they're really in, that they're struggling with, and and kind of bring us along the way. So in that process of trying to find a solution, obviously certain people will go out and try and find other solutions that don't work for them. It's really the same process for your story. Talk about that journey of trying to find that solution and having some failures along the way, but eventually those failures lead to eventually finding some type of transformation or discovery that brings that solution. And that's where you can really bring through and give some education around that solution that you're offering, but also talk about those other solutions that people might have tried but have failed along the way. So you start with that obstacle, talk about that journey of trying to find solutions that didn't really work, but ultimately getting to that transformation. And then finally talking about what life is like afterwards. So once they have that solution, how has their life changed, and give your audience a little bit of hope that they can go through the same type of journey. So that's really the way that I would do it. To encourage a little bit more comments within your video is a great way, either within your story or a little bit afterwards. Invite your audience, ask them a question, ask them an engaging question along the way, and ask them to comment below. Again, with everything, whether it's subscribing, liking your video, sharing it, commenting below, you have to kind of ask and remind your audience to do that. It might seem a little bit pedantic, but asking your audience to do those things along the way is very important to getting those actions taken, and kind of catching their attention. Don't just assume that they're going to do it. You kind of have to remind them, kind of hold their hand along the way to make sure that those actions get done. And then kind of finishing up by talking about if you have some type of lead magnet on your website or something of value that you can point your viewers to off of YouTube, this is a great opportunity after, again, reminding them to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Like, where else can they go to hear a little bit more about the topic that you might have covered, or something of value that you can offer them, whether it's on your website or elsewhere. This is a great time to do it towards the end. And then really following up with, in kind of setting up other videos that might be helpful for them. So, in the same way that a lot of TV shows talk about, what the next episode is about, this is a great way to kind of push them to other content within your channel, and making sure, kind of creating that spider web of, in this video, we're always going to be pushing people to that next relevant video that might be helping them out. And we're not just creating videos in isolation. We want to connect the dots for people so they can not only see one video from you, but hopefully a series of that. And that's going to increase your watch time for your entire channel. And YouTube is going to reward you as part of that as well. So keep that in mind in terms of your video content. So in the next videos, we're going to talk about, once your video is actually complete, you filmed it all, what are those next steps to make sure that you can go to YouTube and make sure that they classify your video correctly, and make sure it's in the best possible search results so that you start getting those views and subscribers.